Alright guys, I have not made a YouTube video in just about a year, and I was inspired by Max Hernandez, one of my best friends out here in Florida. He's been posting a YouTube video once per week, and my other good friend, Zach Gallagher, kind of reminded me of the YouTube videos that I used to post. So all of that paired with this thought that I had while biking yesterday sparked an idea that I will now explain. Now, I will start with what sparked the idea and what the idea is, and it involves biking, but the actual meaning of what I was thinking about has nothing to do with biking. So I'll just get into it. As I was biking yesterday, I'll put a picture up on screen of what I was dealing with. I had loaded up on this bike more food than I've ever loaded before. There was 30 eggs, surprisingly none of them cracked, 3 pounds of dates, 3 pounds of honey, all sorts of things in here, meat, butter, everything. And this thing was like almost falling off, right? And I have all these zip ties on here. First of all, this basket should not be in a bike like this. This comes from like a pretty crappy beach cruiser, and this is like my most prized possession of all time. It's yeah, I love this bike more than basically anything else that I own. And the ride yesterday was like one of the most uncomfortable rides I've ever had on this bike. The zip ties that I have holding this thing up were like jamming into my hands much more than usual. I was afraid the basket was going to fall off, and I was like squeezing this thing up so it wouldn't fall and I would lose all my food. It was a mess, right? And these zip ties were, really digging into my hands. They almost always do, but with the weight yesterday, they were digging in even more than normal. Even the zip ties, when I cut them off, it's even worse. They dig into my hands. Bottom line is, it sucks. And the thought that crossed my mind was, looking back at when I researched, probably spent like 50 hours of research on what bike I should get, because this is like, again, my favorite thing that I've ever owned. This thing has brought me more utility and joy than anything else, even more than my laptop, I would say. And if at the time the bike description said, by the way, when you ride your bike, you're gonna get cut by zip ties, I would have never bought the bike. I mean, nobody in their right mind would buy a bike that's otherwise perfect, and there's a little disclaimer at the bottom that says your hands are going to get cut up by zip ties, right? So that was like the first thought that I had. And the thought that came after that is like, but I love this bike more now with this defect of having the zip ties and whatnot that cut into your hand than I did before. And the thought that sparked from that goes beyond biking, which is why I said this video topic has nothing to do about biking, is all the times that it's not a waste of time, but all the time that I've put towards research and thinking rather than doing. Thinking about like, what's the perfect hosting platform for my website? What's the perfect hosting for my offer or communications with my business? What's the perfect minimalist shoe to buy? What's the perfect laptop to buy? What's the perfect, I just bought some things off of Amazon to design a new little product that I'm building out of leather. And I've spent a couple hours researching what's the perfect leather, what's the perfect string, what's the perfect needle to use for sewing. I can go on and on. My whole life has been this. What's the perfect blank for blank? And the lesson that I'm learning in all this, and it's still something that I'm actively trying to unlearn, not that it is wrong to do research, but I think the degree that I've done research is not really serving you well anymore. Putting endless hours of research into these things that realistically, in the example of the bike, I put all the research into this bike. There's now a defect in the bike, but I love the bike just as much, if not more. So if I don't get the perfect website hosting platform, or I don't get the perfect laptop, or I don't get the most perfect minimal shoes, the point is that like finding the perfect thing is not only almost impossible, but in my experience, it's been a better experience just using what comes to you or what comes to me most easily or most affordably or fastest, and then making that thing work. And the final, like most highest point of this thought came in buying land. I have not in a position yet to be able to buy a farm or buy land, but it is something that I think about quite often, a couple times a week at least. And I always think to myself, okay, I need to find where is the perfect location, the perfect local government or federal government area a country in the world to buy land. Like, where am I going to be most safe? Where is my future family going to be most safe or have the most opportunity to maintain freedoms and eat well and not be ruled by someone or something else? And all these, or even beyond that as well, like farming, is there enough water? Is the sun going to be hitting the property at the right angle? What latitude and altitude are we at to grow the right crops? All these questions start overwhelming me, and I look at Zillow.com and I see 18,000 available farm properties, and I just think, like, I don't even know where to begin. So that thought stresses me out all the time, every single time that I think about it. And as soon as I thought about this bike thing, it's like the bike that I bought was, in my mind, like the perfect bike. And over time, it's become squeaky. The zip tie is digging to my hand. It's really, really loud as I'm biking because of the zip ties and because of the, not so great little metal basket on the front. It's slowly become far from perfect, but in that becoming far from perfect, it's become the perfect thing for me because I'm the one that has created it, or I'm the one that's built a relationship with this bike. If I had no relationship with this bike and this bike just appeared to me, I probably would not love it as much as I do today. So thinking in terms of land, I'm actively trying to separate myself from this desire to have the perfect thing, right? Like, I have this image in my head of, like, my future farm the land will be oriented perfectly on the hill where it receives sun, but it doesn't, get flooded with the rain, and it's not too cold and it's not too hot, and there aren't many natural mosquitoes and other bugs to bother us. And all these little factors, I think that I'm just going to magically find it. And the more I think about it in relation to the bike, the reality is very likely going to be that I'm going to get a farm and it's not going to be perfect. There isn't a septic system. It's not really on the perfect side of the mountain to get the most optimal sun. Maybe there's some big mosquitoes there. There's all these little problems that are going to arise. I'm sure of it. And the only way to truly make it work or make it mine is to own it, figuratively and physically, literally owning it, and actively building that relationship with the land. Healing the soil, doing all sorts of things to the land. That was basically the thought. I know it's a very abstract one. I'm curious if anyone watching this, I don't know how many people are going to watch this, maybe 10. Do you deal with overthinkings doesn't really encompass what this is. It's more of the need to overplan or the need to seek or build the perfect thing before actually, like, going all in on the thing, whether it's with business, with personal endeavors, with life, with relationships, even with traveling. This is something that I've struggled with. It's like I know that I'm going to Europe, and I look at the entire continent of Europe and I ask myself, where do I want to go? And when I ask that question, I realize how almost impossible it is to answer. Like, where is the perfect location for me in Europe? I have no idea. I've been to probably 30, 40, 50 places there. They're all great, but they're all great only if I and the people that I'm with make them great. Could be in, like, the most beat up part of Italy, and if I'm with the right people or I have the right intentions of what it is that I'm doing there, it can be made to work. Are there better places? Of course. Are there better bikes? Of course. Are there better farms than the farm that has the biggest mosquitoes in all of Mississippi? Of course. But it's all about, and I'm realizing with the bike, it's all about, like, the relationship that you build with the thing and what you become as a result of using the thing, and what the thing becomes as a result of you using it and building further upon it. Like, me adding the basket to the bike was me building on top of the existing bike. So that was the thought. Let me know what you think. I don't know if I'm going to be making more of these, but I just had inspiration while I was doing some work, and